Everybody ready? All right, great to be back here, kicking off the 2025 season. Had our first full team meeting a short while ago. I heard you heard a little bit from Schulte a moment ago about how that went. Feeling really good about this team right now, coming into camp largely very healthy, ready to compete and build off of what we accomplished during the regular season last year. Last year was the second most successful regular season in franchise history, and put ourselves in a position in the playoffs to compete for a World Series championship. And obviously we fell short, but coming back hungry this year with a team that is incredibly competitive, has learned how to compete alongside each other under the leadership of Mike and the same coaching staff that's going to be back this year. And we feel like we can accomplish our goal that we've had for some time as a franchise, which is to win our first World Series championship. I feel like both AJ and Mike have been given the resources that they need to put together a playoff caliber and championship caliber team. I know they agree, especially with some of the recent additions that we've made, and feel really good going into the season with our leadership that's in place, Mike, AJ, myself, and our goal remains the same as a franchise. Nothing has changed. We're here to win the first World Series championship in franchise history. I feel like we have a team that's capable of doing that. Now we got to go get through a healthy spring training and play a lot of baseball games and play them at a high level and put ourselves in a position like we were last year to compete for that World Series championship in the playoffs. And the last thing I just wanted to say is just continually expressing our gratitude for our fans. We have a passionate and faithful fan base, feel like it's the best in baseball. We're incredibly fortunate to have that support. And also our employees. We've got a lot of long-tenured, hard-working employees in this organization that care a lot about being the best franchise in baseball and winning that World Series championship. And can't thank them enough for all the work that they put in. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
You say that they've been given the resources they need, and obviously the payroll is high. You've signed some guys for low dollars recently, but can you speak to that, of how the challenge of giving them the resources they need, given all the salaries that went up?
Yeah, our payroll has gone up significantly year over year, and we have been pursuing a long-term plan that was set several years ago, and we're continuing to execute against that plan, and we're exactly where we had expected to be from a payroll perspective going into this year, and we feel like we're at a level, likely end up being a top 10 payroll in baseball that is sufficient from a resource perspective to go out and win a World Series championship. And that's a commitment that we've made for several years now to our fan base, is that we would consistently put a team on the field that could compete for the playoffs in a World Series championship. I know that was important to Peter and remains important to us as an organization, that we put a team on the field year in and year out that can compete for a World Series championship. So to your point, I feel like we have the resources, the level of payroll, the veteran leadership, and a lot of great young players that are contributing early in their career. And I think we have a team, like you saw last year, that's capable of going out and accomplishing our goal.
No offense to you, but usually there's someone standing next to you. Mm-hmm. When might we hear from him?
Yeah, so John Seidler was approved by Major League Baseball as our next control person, and will become the chairman after the passage, as it's been reported by you and others, of a 30-day period. So you'll hear from him and have an opportunity to ask him questions, get to know him better before opening day. Once that 30-day period is passed, that'll be early to mid-March. And we're incredibly excited to have John step into that position. He's been part of the ownership group since 2012. I've known him for 13 years. I've spent a lot of time with him at Padres games and in Padres ownership meetings. And he's got a love for San Diego. He's got a love for this franchise and a love for baseball. And he's excited to step into that role and continue what his brother Peter was leading for so many years for the ownership group that he's a part of, and ultimately deliver that World Series championship to San Diego.
The legal wranglings in the offseason, how much has that impacted the everyday, day-to-day operations of the club as this has gone on?
It hasn't. The goal remains the same. It's been business as usual. Really, we've been uninterrupted by the noise outside of the organization, and we've been given the resources we need, the stability we need. Eric Greupner has been exceptional in his role as the interim control person. It's really important, I think, to know that Eric stepped into that role out of a sense of obligation for his longtime business partner and friend, Peter. And he's been a stabilizing force for this franchise. He's not done it for his own ego or self-promotion. If anything, quite the opposite. But he's come in with a passion and provided really intelligent, hardworking stability and leadership for us over the last year and a half. I've learned a ton from him, and we've been clicking along. Nothing has changed. The goal remains the same. As I said earlier, we have a tremendous group of hardworking employees, players. Leadership remains the same. We're back to try to do what we didn't do last year.
And your payroll has fluctuated pretty significantly the last 3 years, from 250 to 170, maybe around 200 now. Can you just speak to what is a realistic sort of payroll figure for the Padres moving forward?
Yeah, it's a good question. And we've said for years that we increased payroll and spending to give our fans and our city an opportunity to do something we've never done before. But that ultimately we knew long-term the sustainability of that payroll is going to be determined by the fan support and the level of revenue we've been able to generate in our market. We remain one of the smallest media markets in baseball. Yet, despite that, our fans have been amazing, and they've supported this team, and we owe them an incredible debt of gratitude. And we're at a level right now with our payroll where we're putting everything that we have that we can generate in our market into this team. And for that to be a top 10 payroll is pretty amazing, considering the size of our market when it comes to the media market. And I think it's just once again a testament to how amazing our fans are and the way that they've been showing up and supporting this team. But we feel like once again we have the resources in place to go out and compete for a World Series championship at the payroll level that we're at right now. And AJ has continued to do really an outstanding job building the roster and finding ways to put together a team that we think can be highly competitive.
You mentioned the media market. What is the latest on the TV situation, and how much of a challenge has it been to try and get the games on television like that?
Yeah, I think the decline of the regional sports network business model has been written about extensively by Alden and others, and it has impacted us in San Diego, no doubt. We are confident that we're maximizing the opportunity that we have in our market through partnering with MLB Media at this time. And we've made our games available to more fans in more ways than it ever has been before. And in fact, we hope to announce soon a package of Saturday games that'll be made available over the air, free of charge as well, simulcast this year. And so one of the silver linings of the decline of kind of the traditional media model has been it's allowed us to make our games more available than ever before without local market blackout to our fans during a period of years when there's been a high demand for this team because we've been playing exciting, winning baseball. So we're going to make our way through it, but once again, confident that we're getting the very most that we can out of the opportunity in our market, and that's only been possible through the partnership with MLB Media.
And obviously it's great for the fans, but no sport relies more on TV deals, local TV deals, than baseball. How much of a challenge has that been, and where do you guys find a balance in trying to make that money up elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's not a ton of options out there right now. The decline in that business model has impacted everybody, right? And when I say everybody that runs an RSN that has been a traditional buyer of media rights. There's not a lot of options out there right now, of third parties that are bidding for media rights. And so to have MLB Media as an option where we can get our games out there to more of our fans and still generate the maximum amount of revenue we can generate in our media market has been great. Now, I think long term, that business landscape is going to continue to evolve and change. And I know it's got the commissioner's attention at the highest levels of baseball about how, as an industry, we continue to navigate the changing media landscape. And I'm confident in his leadership that we're going to find the best solution, intermediate and long term. But right now, we're doing the best with what we have.
Erik, Padres fans had to watch the Dodgers sign everybody this offseason and then hear rumors the Padres trying to trade Dylan Cease, Michael King, Luis Suarez to get under payroll. Does AJ need to cut any more payroll, or are you guys in a sustainable spot where you are right now?
Yeah, I think AJ's spoken to the fact that our goal is to be at or around the payroll level that we're at right now and field a competitive and complete roster. And so I think if we've learned one thing about AJ over the years, including as recently as last year, spring training doesn't mean that the roster's set, right? And so I think he's going to continue, I know he's going to continue to work to try to complete this roster in a way where we can go out and have the most complete competitive team possible. that may mean acquiring additional players. It may mean additional transactions that bring us players that are not on the roster right now. So, there's no way to know yet where that all is going to net out. But I do think the moves that you've seen over the last couple of weeks, I think, have signaled pretty clearly to our fan base what has been true all offseason long. We just don't talk publicly about payroll. We're not out talking about who we're going to sign. It's a competitive advantage that we keep that within the walls of our discussions in our front office. And so we're not going to be out there during the off season projecting what exact payroll we think we're going to end up at. We've just been out there doing what the market has brought to us, and that's what AJ's particularly good at. And as it was last year, some of the players that we've been most interested in, Pavetta being one of them, have come to us towards the end of the off season. And so we feel good about our roster right now, and I feel good about a GM who's going to continue to try to refine it and make it even better going into opening day.
And what should fans expect to change, if anything, under John Seidler?
No change. Goal remains the same. We have had a long-term plan that was set years ago that we've been executing against, and that's to put a consistently winning team on the field that's capable of making the playoffs and competing for a World Series championship. John embraces that goal and is going to step into a role as the chairman that's going to continue to lead us towards trying to accomplish that goal and put every resource we have into trying to accomplish that goal. So nothing changes. Our leadership's going to remain the same. We've got a long tenured leadership group here involving AJ, myself. AJ's been here 11 years. I've been here 15 years. Mike Schilt now going into his second year as the manager, but he's been with the organization longer than that in an advisory role. And so we've got a lot of stability as an organization, and that's going to continue, and the goal is going to remain the same.
Orsillo was here for at least a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, you kept him. What's the status of Don Orsillo's contract?
Yeah, so Don was going into the final year of his contract this year, and he's really become the beloved voice of the Padres, doing play-by-play on TV. And so I'm happy to announce that we recently entered into a long-term extension with Don, and our hope and expectation is that he's going to continue to be the voice of the Padres until he's no longer a broadcaster, and we'd like to see him end his career here in San Diego.
Erik, did you guys feel the need to address the situation of what's going on with Shio with the players today, especially since obviously some of them had a relationship with her?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had most of our players together during our Fan Fest several weeks ago, and we had an opportunity at that time to speak just at a high level about what had been reported publicly around the dispute, and really just letting the players know what I've told you today, which is it's not impacting the way that we operate. Nothing has changed, and our leadership is stable. Our focus remains the same. And that was the message, nothing more than that. And, we don't want to have to put our players or anybody, other than really me and ownership representatives in a position to have to speak to that. And so that was the message. I'll speak to that. We'll handle that. There's others outside the organization that are handling it. But it's business as usual for everybody else, including the players.
Speaking to that, how challenging has what's been going on with the lawsuits been on this organization?
It hasn't really been challenging from a day-to-day operational perspective for all the reasons that I've shared. Really, the focus has remained the same. Nothing has changed with the people that are full-time in our front office. Nothing's going to change in the near future with that. And so we've just had a team that's continued to execute consistently in a way that we have in the past, and it really has not been a disruption. And we're very focused as an organization making sure it doesn't become a disruption. And I think once we start playing baseball games, it's going to be even easier to avoid any distraction. What our fans really care about is, are we committed to putting a winning team on the field that is exciting and can compete for a World Series championship? And can they come to a ballpark, have a great experience, and make memories with their friends and family? And we're going to continue to deliver that. And that's, I think, what really matters. And when we start playing baseball games, I think our fans are going to see that we have an exciting team. Hopefully we stay healthy and can compete at a high level. Petco Park's still a great place to come and enjoy a baseball game. And those are the things we're focused on.
Sorry, can you rule out any possibility of this team being sold?
I have been told multiple times that the team is not for sale and will not be sold. The Seidler family has viewed this team as a generational asset. Peter spoke about that. The rest of his family has continued to speak about that. This team is not going to be relocated. This team is not going to be sold. The commitment remains to keep this team in the current ownership that it's in right now and continue to run it the way we've been running it.
Erik, you're projected to be well above the luxury tax line. What is the team's thought on potentially paying that tax at the end of the year?
Yeah, we currently are projected to be a CBT payor this year, and we've been there in prior years. Too early to say where we end up. A lot of things can change over the course of a year. Things may even change between now and opening day, but obviously there's a willingness that if that's what it takes to put together a competitive team that we think can accomplish the goals that we have as an organization, we would be willing to do that this year. I think that's just a further commitment and really proof in the pudding type moment for the fan base that we mean what we say. We're not backing away from the plan to try to win a World Series championship, and we're doing everything we possibly can, putting every resource we can into fielding a competitive team that can compete for that championship.
In the short term, there's been a lot said and written about cash flow, current cash flow. Where does that stand? I mean, there's been a lot of obviously creative deals to seemingly limit some of the money being spent right now.
Yeah, look, every year is different. Every off season is different. And we are right now at a point when we look to operate the team where we feel that we can support the level that we're at right now with payroll, and any team looks into the coming years and you look at what contracts are coming off and what long-term commitments you've made, and you may manage payroll from a cash perspective differently from year to year just based on some of those factors, and it's nothing different. AJ's and his team, Josh Stein, are particularly good at doing that, and so anything that you've seen around structuring deals or the way that we've engineered the deals that have been put in place have been with a long-term view of remaining competitive as a franchise and also being as competitive as we can this year.